This is going to be a brief tour of your Gmail inbox. When you first go to Gmail, you need to log in. And then it will load your inbox. Your inbox may look different than mine. Mine is the newest inbox available from Google. Your school domain may actually change the way that you view your inbox. It shouldn't be too difficult to keep up though. On the left-hand side, you'll see a big red button that says Compose, as well as your inbox and various labels that Gmail sets up for you. On the right-hand side, you'll see this little gear. That will bring us to our settings. So let's do a little bit of setting changing. I click on Settings, and then I brought up to this menu, which shows me all of the options I have. The first one is my language. I speak English, and therefore I'm going to leave it at English. You may wish to change this. You may wish to show your students how to change this if they're perhaps ESL or ELL students. On Images, it asks me, do I want to always display the external images that people send me, or do I want to ask before they're displayed? Either one is safe. And it asks me what I want my default reply behavior to be. This comes in really important when you're replying to group messages. If you want to reply to everybody, you would use reply all. But if you want to reply just to the sender, you want to hit reply. A lot of times people will reply all a message that really was meant for one sender. Another thing you can set is your default text type. Perhaps you don't like sans serif. You want to write in Comic Sans, and you want it to be large, and you want it to be blue. Whatever the case may be, you can change those default settings, or you can remove them if you want it to go back to the default. The next option here is Conversation View. What that means is I can view all of my conversations grouped together in one, or I can view each message individually. I like to use Conversation View because that groups everything together that goes together. You have Send and Archive options. You have options for which stars you want to mark your items with, and we'll get to that later. I'm going to leave off all my desktop notifications. I can use icons or text. If I have a slow internet speed, I might want to use text-only labels on my buttons. And I can add a picture to my account. Select Picture, and I'm going to choose a file from my computer. And I'm going to upload a picture. That way, people who I send messages to can see who I am. You'll notice that after I've uploaded my picture, I have two options: to make it visible to everyone, or visible to only people I can chat with. That way you can maintain some privacy if you choose. We're going to leave the People widget alone, as well as the autocomplete for contacts. What that does is it adds people to your contact list once you've emailed them. The next option I have is whether I want a signature or not. If you find yourself signing emails with the same thing over and over, you might save yourself some time by creating a personalized signature for your email. Once you've typed it, you can change the font size, the color, you can add links, images, choose your alignment, anything you could do in a regular email message. It's currently defaulting to showing snippets of messages like you would find in a Google web search. That's pretty neat, so you can get an idea of what an email is about before you even open it. You then have the option of turning on a vacation responder. This comes in handy if you're on, say, summer break and you don't expect to be reading your email every day. You can have it set to automatically reply to the people who send you emails and tell them you'll get back to them as soon as you can, but you're away from the office right now. Once again, you can format that just like you can your signature, and it'll look like a regular email. You can also choose to have that response sent only to people who are in your contact list. That way, if people like vendors contact you outside of the regular school day, they don't actually receive that response from you. Once I've made all the changes I wish to make to my general settings, I'm going to click on Save Settings, and it'll tell me that it's saved my settings. If you go back up here, you'll see the tab next to General is called Labels. Once you click on Labels, you'll see all the labels that Google has automatically created for you. Labels work similar to folders in another email program, but they don't get stuffed away in a folder where they get lost. You can actually search by labels and organize by labels. If you want to create a new label, for example, I get a lot of email from the English department, I can create a label called English Department. I click on Create, and you'll now see English Department as one of the labels I can apply to my email. If there are things in here that you don't want to have anymore, such as receipts, you can remove them. Travel, work, obviously, if it's a work account, you don't need to have a work label, but those are some things you can do with labels. Now, say for example, I have this English department label and I want to create a sub-label, I can do that as well. If you go back up to the top of the screen, you'll notice the tab next to labels is called Inbox. When you click on Inbox, you see that you have different types of inboxes. Your important first, your unread first, your starred first, or a priority inbox. I usually go unread first. That way I always know which emails haven't been read. Other people prefer to have all of their emails in the order that they arrived so that they don't lose them. It's really a personal preference. You also have something called categories. I generally don't have the categories on, particularly for my work email, because there's really no need to have primary, social, and promotions. So I just uncheck the other two, and then I have one inbox to look in. If you get a lot of promotions from vendors or other people, you might want to leave that on. It's entirely up to you. You can have importance markers to mark messages as important. And you can override filters if you want to include message in your inbox that have been filtered out on purpose. Again, if you've made any changes, click on Save Changes. I'm going to go back into my settings, and I'm now going to click on the fourth tab called Accounts. This is where you can change your password recovery options, and other Google account settings. Right now it has me sending email as Shannon H, and my email address listed as bookfairy80@gmail.com. I'd like to edit that info. I don't want to be Shannon H anymore. So I'm going to change my name to Shannon Mersand, and I'm going to click Save Changes. You'll now see that my full name appears in my email address. Okay. Other things you can do, you can add a POP3 account that you own. You can grant access to your other email accounts that you have, or you can leave them as unread when opened by others. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to click on Filters. I'm now going to work on creating some filters for my inbox. Filters are a way for you to receive messages and have them automatically labeled. For example, I created that English department label. Now I can create a filter that anytime I get an email from somebody in the English department, it gets automatically labeled for me. In order to do that, I'm going to click on Create New Filter. I'm going to add an email address of a person that might be in the English department. Really, it's just me. I can also filter it by who they send it to, the subject of the message, if it has specific words in it, if it doesn't have specific words in it, whether it has an attachment, and how big that attachment is. I'm going to create the filter with this search. And when it arrives in my inbox, it asks me, what do I want to do with it? For example, if I get a lot of emails from a particular bookseller, I may want to just archive those emails right away, so I skip the inbox and stick it right in my archive. Perhaps I want it to be automatically marked as read, or I want it to be starred. I can apply that label for English department, or I can forward it to another address. Maybe I just want it to automatically get deleted. Perhaps it's something that keeps getting sent to spam but shouldn't. Maybe I want it to be always marked as important or never marked as important. And finally, I can categorize it as one of those categories that we took out before. I'm going to create the filter. Oops. And now whenever I get an email message from shannonmersand@gmail.com, it's automatically going to apply the label English Department. The next tab talks about forwarding to a POP and Imap account. We're really just going to skip over this because none of this is important to you right now. The next tab talks about our chat settings. It's automatically defaulting to on. Chat may come in important when you start to interact with your teachers and colleagues, and it's really an on-the-fly message that doesn't need to be a full email. It works very much like the old-fashioned AOL Instant Messenger. You can turn it off if you'd like to not have it shown. It's going to automatically allow people you communicate with often to chat with you and see when you're online if you leave on the auto suggest contacts. Or you can have it only, you can set it so that you have to approve everybody who wants to chat with you. There are other options here like call phones, which means that you can make phone calls directly from Gmail, and you can disable the outbound calls as well. It asks you what you want to use if you're going to make phone calls from your Gmail, and you can turn on your sounds or turn off your sounds to let you know when chat messages have arrived. And last but not least, you can turn on or off your emoticons. We're going to skip over web clips, labs, and offline, and I'm going to go directly to themes. Okay, themes are basically what your inbox looks like. The light is what it defaults to, but perhaps you have a favorite color you'd like to show up. Maybe you need it in high contrast, or maybe you want something really fancy. I'm going to set mine to planets. It's going to ask me what city I'm in. And I hit save. And I have no idea why it wanted my city, but now I can see this lovely new background. If I decide I don't like my themes, I can go back into settings, click on themes, and choose something different. There are lots of themes to choose from. So if you find one you like, that's great. I'm going to choose Tea House here. And I can see the changes that it made. I think I'll stick with that one. And that's it for the basic settings in your Gmail. The next things we'll cover will include how to send an email, receive an email, and reply to one.